And welcome back to The Bounce, everyone. Stadium Rant's flagship NBA podcast. I am Kev, and with me, as always, is James. James, happy Tuesday, man.
How are you, Kev? How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. We got Thanksgiving this week. I get to do this show with you 2 days early.
Yep, I'm
Uh,
traveling across the world, so got to go a little
ooh,
early this week.
that is fair. I get to stay right here. Unfortunately, there's no basketball for me to enjoy on Thursday, but have no
Nothing.
fear, NBA fans. We got plenty of Wednesday and Friday action that we're going to look at. So be sure to comment if you have questions. We would love to answer them on the show. If you want a particular matchup you want us to look at, let us know in the comments below. Otherwise, like and subscribe. I hate to do that to you this early, but just get ready. We're going to ask you again. So, as a way to say thank you for listening to my pitch, here's a Luca highlight.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's I think it was worth it, guys, right? Look at oh my goodness.
The
And even
no-look pass at the rim.
the no look
God.
pass, he holds the form. I'm gonna roll it again. I don't even
Yep.
care. That's just so late in the play too. The defense, there's no way you can recover. He's already committed, rightfully so, I suppose. Because what are you gonna do? Give Luca a layup and
Nope.
just the oh, I mean,
It's just
so
beautiful. It's
fancy.
just. It's so good. It's so good.
He's got a little competition this year from someone else who we will see in a highlight later as far as the who's got that Larry Bird touch this year. But
Right.
plays like
Hmm.
that sure do remind me of the old number 33. Oh, and and I'm gonna dive right into some bad news so we can just get it out of the way
Let's just
because
knock this out, man. It's been a tough week and a half, 2 weeks here on the injury front. It's been rough.
it has been incredibly difficult. And we're going to start out west with Dame, who, according to Shams, you're going to see Shams a lot here. So shout out to him. This was 2 days ago.
Do
Literally,
you even know what that muscle is? I've never heard of it before, Kev.
I believe it is a lower leg muscle.
I have no idea. I've never heard of that one before. Just like this is just like the toe sprain or the toe sprain or whatever we were dealing with a couple weeks ago.
It reminds me of the Ron Burgundy, the Anchorman movie, when he's got you
Yeah.
have your ubulus to the upper dorsimus. It's boring, but it's my
Yeah.
life, and that's Dame right now. So Portland, it's not Nurkic this time, but it's always injuries with them, and they are a
Hmm.
very promising team. They're still not looking too bad in those standings, although they have cooled off a bit. I mean, 10-7. I don't think they'd be upset if you had told them at the beginning of the year they'd start 10-7. But yeah, they're staying alive while they battle these
Hmm.
injuries. Another team that's had a lot of unfortunate injuries recently are the Grizzlies,
God.
James.
Jaw's out now with the ankle sprain. Desmond Bane's been out. And somebody like Ja is such a high flyer. He risks his body so much going to the rim. You hate to see that kind of stuff with him.
Yep.
Those little ticky tack ones add up.
Yeah, they do, and you don't. I not that we're at that level yet, but I just think of like Derrick Rose, right? There's
Hmm.
now he has had a resurgence. He's had a bit of a renaissance in his career, but there is a big difference to, MVP. Even though some might argue against that MVP, there's a difference between the Bulls Derrick Rose and the Derrick Rose we see today. And
Hmm.
I have complete faith that if that would ever happen to Ja, that he's going to be okay. He's going to make that
Yeah.
transition as well. But like you said, he's a human highlight reel, and I don't use that term lightly. I think last year in the first half, the NBA did a top 10 plays, and Ja Morant was responsible for 3 of the top 10 plays league
Yeah.
wide. So I'm not kidding when I say he's a human highlight reel. But we hope that things ease up for these guys. They just got Jaren Jackson back, and now
Hmm.
they're missing half their starting lineup. So
Right. You
they're
bring that's a good comparison. How explosive Derrick Rose was back in the day pre ACL tear. He was a freak. It's a really good comparison, actually.
yes. You know, while we're on the comparison front, there's another team playing without half of their starting lineup, and that would be the old Philadelphia 76ers. It just keeps getting worse for these guys.
Yeah, man. He's out. They played tonight. Embiid didn't play tonight. They won tonight, by the way. They won. They beat the Nets tonight without those guys.
Which says so
Everything
much.
right now.
Yeah, do we have go ahead.
The leading scorer, Tobias Harris, has 24. DeAndre Melton, 22. I think that's DeAndre, isn't it? Am I right on that?
Yeah. D'Anthony. Sorry, D'Anthony Melton.
D'Anthony, yeah. D'Anthony. They had Shake Milton had 16. Georges Niang off the bench was 16.
And Kyrie played. Kyrie played
31
minutes, had 23 points, and as you pointed out, Ben Simmons had the game of his life.
Oh yeah, Ben Simmons almost had a triple-double. Almost had a triple-double, 11, 11, and 7.
It's all thanks to you.
Ben Simmons has come back, baby. You saw his stats from this weekend, right? 22 points on 11 shots, 8 rebounds, 5 assists. This is his 4th straight double-double.
You called it.
You
said
barely getting there.
It's the curse of the bounce. He's back. He's back on track. Unfortunately, the Nets are not, it's even worse. It's worse than I thought it was when I saw that they lost to a Sixers team that is this depleted. I was expecting, Kyrie must not be back yet. Right? No, you got Kyrie back.
It's his 2nd game back. They're 8th, 10th, hovering around 10th. They did have a 2-game winning streak before that, and before that game, their efficiency numbers are gross. They're 12th in offensive efficiency, which is fine, but they're 18th in defensive. Like, they don't guard anybody. I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is there, or if there is an answer.
It's so bad. I mean, do you agree with what Kevin Durant said about the Nets? Just might as well talk about it now.
He's not wrong, right? Like, I'm sorry, it's a bad comment, but they're 8 and 10 with 3 max guys on their team, and they are just not good.
Yeah, this is such a tough one because on one hand, you want to be the locker room guy and say, hey, as a leader of this team, you shouldn't name drop your teammates while talking about how bad your starting lineup is. That's probably not the greatest form. However, I imagine everyone in the Nets locker room has well adjusted to Kevin Durant's personality. Like, his teammates probably understand it. I don't know how upset they would be about it, but it's not going to do anything for the morale issue on this team for him to be like, you think that just because I'm out here, I can win with a bunch of scrubs? I'm paraphrasing here, but that's essentially what the man said.
That's what he said, man.
You think just because you see the number 7 on the court means we're going to win. And that is saying a lot. But he also isn't wrong. Clearly.
He's not. I guess the issue is saying it publicly, right? Like, that's the issue with it. That me and you get to talk about it. That's the problem.
Yep. It's like, say that to the front. I mean, I'm sure he has said that and then some to the owner. He's clearly been communicating it. But yeah, you lost to a team. Notably, PJ Tucker had 0 points in the starting lineup. I just love a classic.
PJ Tucker has struggled this year. He's not notorious for scoring a lot, but did you see Paul Reed off the bench has 19 for him? 19 and 10 off the bench, 7 and 9 from the field. This man is averaging 0.8 points on the season. 0.8.
And that includes 5 offensive rebounds, which is a huge one here. So every single starter had an offensive rebound. We are looking at about 17 offensive rebounds just amongst the starters alone. And that's just what you were talking about. They are paper thin inside.
Yep.
And even if they are going to get a stop, which is not very likely, there's a good chance you're going to get another shot at it. So at
20, they give up 20. They got 20 offensive rebounds, and they had 4 offensive rebounds. That's it's a recipe for that disaster, folks.
That is tough. So I don't know that even with, some kumbaya in the locker room, some everybody getting along, I still don't know that it works on the court with this team. I'm looking at this bench and I'm not seeing that strength in the front court. Like there's nobody that they can bring in to say, "Hey, all right, we need you to protect the rim." There's nothing but guards and forwards on this bench.
It's tough. It's tough, man.
And Day'Ron Sharpe. I'm sorry, Day'Ron. Sorry.
They
Day'Ron Sharpe is 6'9", by the way. That's the tallest bench player for the Nets.
20 offensive rebounds, man. That's wild. Like, woof. And then you turn the ball over 15 times to 9. Like, yeah, that's. So how the heck? Hold on. Then they had 14 blocks. How's that happen? They had 14 blocks.
I need to watch this tape now.
I know.
I am so confused.
And they're starting. The starters had
everyone
12 blocks.
Kyrie had 2 blocks. Everyone got in on
this. I'm confused. I need to see this now.
I am very confused. You know what doesn't confuse me is the defensive prowess of Miles Turner. Yes, it's time, folks. It's finally, we are 5 episodes in. I've held off as long as I could. I did not want my Pacers fanhood to make me some sort of hypocrite.
You've been fighting it.
I didn't want to talk about the Pacers. I can do that on my own time. But how can I not talk about the 10-6, third in the Eastern Conference Pacers, who are not supposed to be here?
What are they doing?
What are they doing? And at this point, I'm just going to say it, and I've said it multiple times, as have multiple people over multiple years. Pay this man. It is time to pay this man, because apparently this team's good. So I guess, and here's my argument, thanks to A.K. Riley on Twitter. Look at the difference when he's playing versus when he's not playing. Look at that defense. Just absolutely insane. On top of that, Tyrese Halliburton, Offensive Player of the Week last week. So they are looking good. So it's time to say goodbye while we will still watch for Wembanyama, the Pacers. I know my heart will go on, boys. It's I hate to see it.
Not going to be a Pacer.
Do you know what I'm afraid of here, James?
Average. Just right. Yeah. Just lottery, late lottery, or not lottery. Yep.
I thought I was
purgatory. Pacer purgatory.
Pacer purgatory. I thought I was a recovered fan that was going to be able to come back and help, the troubled fan bases of those struggling middle market teams and say, hey, look, after 20 years, the Pacers finally figured out. But no. Now they've got to win 10 games, 16 games in, ruin any chance of a good lottery pick. And I still am not certain that this is going to be a team that gets past the first round of the playoffs. It might be a play-in team at best.
What would you do with it? Like, what would you do with this raw? Like, specifically, you named him Miles and Buddy. Are you keeping them? Like, so you're on board. Pay Miles, keep him, right?
I think so. I could see there are different scenarios that I would accept. I was a big fan of trade him because the problem with Miles is his injury frequency. So there is part of me, like my inner fantasy manager is like, trade high here, boys. Let's actually like take advantage of this and trade, because he is a valuable asset, but he often gets hurt.
Yeah, he's missed a bunch of games. He's missed 5 games this year already.
Yeah. However, it's one of those things. I'm tempted to just let the young kids play. Let them play and see what he can do. And Buddy, I really love Buddy Hield. And here we go. John, appreciate the praise, by the way.
Thanks, John.
I'm going to throw this up real quick. He agreed also with the Ja and Rose comparison. So we appreciate that. But yeah, are the Pacers real? I don't think so right now. I really don't. I want them to, here's why they're intriguing, because they continue to have different guys step up. Like, so I was a big praiser of Brogdon early on with the Celtics. Now we're kind of seeing what the Pacers have seen over the years. He's already having some leg injuries. He's dealing with some stuff. Meanwhile, Naismith looks pretty good. He's had one clutch performance already. They have different young guys that keep stepping up, and it's weird, but it feels like this is one of those teams that might be ahead of schedule. We've seen it. We saw it with the Grizzlies. Now, I'm not going to make a Grizzlies comp is not a legitimate comp here, but I'm just saying, like, you see teams that get a little bit ahead of schedule. My fear is that our ahead of schedule gets the Pacers to the first round. And to answer John's question, I'm not confident that this team wins in the first round. I'm just going to pull up the Eastern Conference standings here.
They've won 5 in a row.
Yeah, because it's not unreasonable. I'm going to pull John's question here just so we can see everyone. But when I think about this realistically, I don't see the Pacers as a top 4 team in the East. Although when you look at how bad Brooklyn and the 76ers and surprisingly Miami,
the teams below them, you've got Philly's below them, Toronto, New York, Brooklyn, Miami. Obviously, Chicago's got their own issues. Miami,
the Raptors. You said Toronto already, but these are all teams I fully expect. Not all of them, but I look at the Toronto.
You're talking about hosting a playoff series right now. If this season would end today.
Yeah, the Wizards are over here like, hey guys, I know one of your hosts isn't a fan of ours, but look, we're not supposed to be here either. Right?
Yeah, right.
7, look at them. It's like, hey, can we get a little FaceTime? What is going on in the Eastern Conference? I
don't know.
I'm not buying it 100% yet with the Pacers as much as I would like to. I expect Miami to right the ship. I expect Toronto to right the ship. I think Atlanta's honestly right about where I expected them to be.
Yeah,
they got off to a hot start, but
if Philly can ever get healthy, they're going to climb. But the question is, how long is that going to take? It's going to be a while. The Pacers' offense is really good. I mean, they're 5th, they're 7th in efficiency right now. Like their offense is good.
Yeah, that's
so interesting.
It is so weird to watch a team that I expected to be tanking, be here 16 games in.
Yeah.
And so they'll be interesting to watch. The entire Eastern Conference is very interesting to watch. So
it's going to be interesting to see what they decide. Like, as we get closer to the trade deadline, you get more games under your belt. Does this record stick? Are they still floating there? Do they start to trend in the wrong direction? And then, like you said, is it too late by then? To get out of some guys? And I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's the
Pacers purgatory. It's staring you in the face, and you're so nervous.
It's looking at me, and it's like a game of chicken right now. It's oh man, what decision are they going to make? And so they have been a pleasant surprise that I can't quite figure out. And now let's look at a negative surprise that we also can't figure out. I want to mention that Steph No here, Zach Lowe, the reason I kept this tweet on the video is because I do encourage you to go listen to their audio. I cut the short version of this clip because we've got our own commentary on the matter, but I did want to just, point you to the direction of the original source. But what we have here is a Cat running up the court pretty open. Anthony Edwards apparently doesn't like Torrey Craig here. And this is my first question for you, James. As a coach, how scared are you of the 6'9" forward being the last line of defense against your center? Are you coaching your guy to make that pass to Cat when he's cutting? He's got 3 defenders behind him.
I'm so confused by the whole thing, man. Like, he throws out of bounds.
Yeah. It seems that it gets passive aggressive after a second.
He's open. He's calling for the ball. He doesn't throw it. He dribbles
right here.
Boom, wide open, man. He's wide open.
Right, this right step hits the ground. Boom. I want the ball out. Ball out. Get it to the big man. He's going to at least draw a foul. He's got all this momentum. What is Torrey Craig going to do?
Nothing. He's going to do nothing. Instead, he doesn't throw it. He doesn't swing it. He dribbles, waits, and then there's 2 problems with this. One, he throws this pass. Karl-Anthony Towns is out of bounds. There's one problem, number 1. 2, why is Karl-Anthony Towns out of bounds?
Why are you running out of bounds on a play? Yeah, what that is, very big problem, because that's kind of what I'm looking at with this stuff, where we were talking about the X's and O's and the issues that they've had, and we're going to take a deep dive into that for next week. But there is a chemistry issue with this team.
Mega chemistry issue. Something is wrong, man.
Some of that just felt like I don't know what else to call it other than like a petty or passive aggressive. Like you didn't give me the ball when I wanted it, so then I run out of bounds. You
Mm-hmm.
still had again. I feel bad calling Torrey Craig out like this. He's a great 3-and-D guy. I would
Yep.
love to have had him on a team that I root for. Love to have him.
Yep.
Give me Karl Anthony Towns in that one-on-one on the block 10 times out of 10. I want that matchup. So again,
Mm-hmm.
I get you didn't get the ball when you should have, but just post up that much smaller defender and you're probably going to get the ball. Like
Yep. Or he's just gonna get fouled if you throw it in there. He's gonna run into him and he's gonna get fouled. Probably get a shot. He'll get the continuation, 2 free throws. That screams something's wrong. Something's not right. Every guy runs out of bounds. The guy doesn't pass him. He's open, waits until he's out of bounds, throws it to him. Like that. I don't know, man. Something ain't right there.
I won't be surprised if there's a future TMZ leak of a practice fight in Minnesota coming soon because
Oh,
something is a
baby.
brewing. I don't know what it is, but it's not looking good, and it's not just their offensive chemistry that is lacking. There seems to be just
It's just
overall
weird.
lack of camaraderie. But you know, weird. Weird is a good word for the next segment because it's time, my friends, to check in on our friends out in Utah.
Oh yeah.
And I mentioned
This
before
man.
that there are a couple of guys bringing me some Larry Bird
Oh,
memories there. I mean, that's honestly like
beautiful. The shots great. The jerseys are. Oh man, that's a beautiful clip.
that gives me Kobe vibes too, just because of the way the defenders were draped and he steps through, then steps back
Yep.
out. We're gonna roll it again, but the point of the matter is, besides those epic city jerseys, those were
Beautiful.
silky.
Those are so nice.
The one game I would say that the Suns shouldn't have worn their teal blue jerseys, though, that
Yeah,
gets that's a little
that's
too
weird. It's
close.
hard. He had 38 in that game, man. Career high 38.
38. And he is, I mean, if you go and look at Utah's games and you just pull it up and you see the high score, you're going to see his name a lot
A
this year.
lot.
He has been doing it a
He's
lot.
unbelievable. He's having a heck of a year. 15 of
And
18 from the field in that game. And they beat the Suns. The Jazz watch. Jazz are number 1 in the West right now.
again,
They're
and
back in first.
it's a rinse and repeat of what we just talked about with Indiana. Like although with Utah, so same question, but this time I'm going to pose it to you, James. At this point, are you willing to commit to Utah being a contender?
19 games in, you're almost 25% of the way through. I think you have to, right? Like,
I'm not willing to call them pretenders at this point. I'll say
no,
that
like
much.
they
Like
just keep doing it. Like that, they beat the Suns. The Suns are good. Then they followed it up, beat Portland the next day. They lost to the Clippers last night, so they won 2 of their last 3. I don't. They're right. Like they're number 1 in the West.
I was ready to question them as I did in our last episode when they lost to the Knicks.
Yep.
And so what I was keeping my eye on was, okay, a good team is going to answer to a loss against a team because not necessarily, I mean, the way the Knicks have played, I'm just going to say it, the Jazz should win that game. You look at the way
Yep.
the two teams have
Mm-hmm.
played so far, the Jazz should win that game. On top of that, they had a healthy lead with about 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They just flat out should have won that game. There's no reason they
Mm-hmm.
should have lost that game, and they knew it. And then they went out and answered against the Suns, which again, to me, that's a mark of, okay, you're a good team. I think when you're
Yep.
doing stuff like that, bad teams don't win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Bad teams fall into the trap and then lose to the supposed better team. My fear with them is they might be a team that only plays to the level of their competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to watch and see, like, if they let teams they should be beating hang around like they did with New York, or
Yep.
are they gonna put away those teams? Because it's easy, relatively speaking, to get yourself mentally ready for the great teams. It's harder to get ready for the Magic, or it's easier
Mm-hmm.
to take the Magic for granted.
They got the
so to
Pistons
speak.
tomorrow night. It's easy to overlook that one.
That's a great example right there. Yeah. So
They've
uh,
got, by the time we have our next show next Thursday, we're going to have a real good idea here. They've got Detroit tomorrow, at Golden State Friday, at Phoenix Saturday, Chicago Monday, Clippers next Wednesday. It's a pretty good stretch of teams. Like we'll have a lot, I think we'll have a lot better idea where they stand on this. Like I don't think they're pretenders. I think they're absolutely a playoff team, and they might be a hosting playoff team if they keep this up.
I agree there, and I'm going to pull the conference standings back up again just to sort of assess this situation, because much like in the East, we have a ton of surprises here. Some you've heard us talk a lot about. Now that one that happens to be highlighted there at the bottom. Look at those guys.
Yep.
Again, the Kings, again, going to give them their 15 seconds of screen
Yep.
time here. Continue to play well. I am happy to see that. That's a pleasant surprise. The Warriors, of course, they're going to get a little more focused time here later on, but they're having some issues, and they maybe made a strategical error last night.
Yeah, that was
But
wild.
yeah, it's just kind of wild. But I expect Golden State to do the same. I mean, I expect Golden State to right the ship here. I would not be surprised to see Portland and Sacramento drop. I am pretty high on New Orleans. I expect them to stay in the playoff race so long as they are healthy. What about you, James? How do you feel about the way it looks now compared to do you see some of these teams dropping, or are you taking the Jazz's spot?
You got to think Golden State's going to figure it out eventually, right? Like they're going to get out. They'll be in here and take somebody's spot. The Kings are
Yeah,
interesting. I expect them to fall. Denver and Phoenix are going to be competing. I don't know. Like I don't think. I think Denver Phoenix knocks out Utah at the top. And
fair.
then the question is if Golden State gets in, do our beloved Minnesota Timberwolves fall out? We're going to talk about the Pelicans more.
Yep.
Can Portland survive Dame's injury? That's just
Same
there's a
with Memphis.
lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memphis has got a lot of injuries right now that can affect them down for a while.
And that's kind of where, when I look at that, I think, okay, I tend to agree with your take on, well, it's not unreasonable to see Utah maybe as a top 4 if some of these teams don't get healthy. Um, I I do expect some of these teams to get better, as you said, but
Hmm.
some I also expect to slip. I will. You mentioned Denver. For my money, I won't be surprised if Denver ends this as the 1 seed. They're kind of I don't know if it's fair to call them a dark horse right now at half
Yeah,
a game out of first, but I
as
won't be
Jamal
surprised.
Murray and Michael Porter Jr. get healthier and more
Yep.
integrated in, like they've got Jokic, two-time MVP. I could easily see them being the 1 seed too.
They might be that team that is very happy to not be talked about for the first 3 quarters of the season. And
Yes,
then it's
yes.
when the time is right, it's like, "Oh yeah, hey, there's that powerhouse in Denver." While we've been looking at the struggling teams in LA, look out now. Here
Damn.
comes a difficult if healthy, and I would love to see it. That's a team that's just been snake bit. I really hope that their fortune changes. I'd love to cover them more on this show.
Hmm.
So let's hope that they stay healthy and relevant. So we talked about the Sixers and their injuries. We talked briefly about the Warriors and their current struggles. And we've talked about the Pelicans and how good they look. So let's mold all of that together into a very interesting, what was it, Monday night matchup where the hometown Pelicans thrashed
Hmm.
the junior varsity squad of Golden State by a final score of 128 to 83. Now, James, I was very puzzled. I think we both were when we looked at the box score.
I saw the box score and I didn't know what happened. And then you started talking about injuries, and I was like, wait a second, what injuries? What are you talking about? Because we looked at the injury report, there was nothing there. And what did they do, Kev? They just sat them, all of them.
They'd said, hey, you guys had a hard fought game last night against the Houston Rockets. And so Wiggins, Draymond, Clay, and
Hmm.
Steph, we're going to need all 4 of you to rest tonight,
All 4.
because it's not like we're a barely just below water 500 team. And like, it's not like we need this win right now or anything. So yeah, let's just rest 4 of our 4 best players, arguably. It's going to be Jordan Poole, and the Funky Bunch out there tonight, and let's hope we don't get beat by 50.
Yeah.
What bold strategy, Cotton?
Yeah. What do you think their reasoning is? Is it did they rest all those guys to try to get Jordan Poole going? He's struggled this season. Do you think that is a little bit to do with it? I don't.
Let's see. It might. Now I'm
He had
tempted. I want to
he
look
had
at it.
he had 26. I'm pulling his game logs. I was just like, maybe.
I tell
I
you
mean,
what, it didn't get Kuminga going. Oh boy. Maybe that was the thought process.
is it maybe?
Let's let the youngsters cook. I mean, DiVincenzo
How
also
about
did not play well.
nothing? That
Just
signing has
goose
not gone
eggs.
well at all.
He looked good that first week or so, and then yeah, it's not panned out. You really expect, Kayvon Looney's that sneaky. Did he get hurt or something? He only played 5 minutes, so I'm interested to see
I
what happened there. But
I would think something happened there. Yeah, that
a
makes.
very odd. And now, so Wiggins is at least listed designated with a sore left foot, so I guess I'll give him
Yep.
a little bit of a break there. But I don't know.
Yeah, on him.
I question this tactic at this time of the year. And again, why were you? I split these guys up. Did you need everybody to beat the
Yeah.
Warriors? Let two of them rest against the Warriors. Play two of them now. I should. Who am I to question the genius that is Steve Kerr? I understand, but
Yep.
this one just seems like an easy one. That's why I feel comfortable questioning it, because it seems like this is
Mhm.
101 type stuff. Why would you? Why would you? You don't need to rest all four guys at once. There's got to be better time
Yep.
management than this.
And then you do it with Wiseman on assignment, so he's not even here to play. So Moody plays a lot, Kaminga, but yeah, one of your young guys that's struggling that you sent down on the assignment, the two-way is not even there. Ooh. Their struggle, man. Their starters are good, and then their bench is just horrific. They're missing those guys that got away.
I'm just going to quickly rattle off the plus minus for the Golden State bench in this game. All right.
Gross, man.
I'm not going to read off any names, but we have -21, -18, -26, -29, and the best of the bunch, a -3. Clearly, by far, the best impact on the game. That is rough. Absolutely rough. Field goal percentage of 37 from the bench, guys. So, yeah, not getting enough. And granted, half of that starting unit should have been their usual bench rotation. But, yeah, it's not looking good in Golden State. I want to appreciate this shout out real quick. Thank you,
Thanks, Josh.
We appreciate that, and happy to talk Wolves. We will be talking about them again. So
we're gonna do a deep dive next week. We're gonna finally get into that deep dive on them.
Yes, because I promise you, there's a scheme in here that can work. It's been done. You might have to roll back the clock a good 20, 30 years, but it's been done, and it's been done by a guy who's still coaching in the league now. So, I mean, like, we can figure this out in Minnesota. I promise you, they can figure this out. They got to get on the same page, though. Their chemistry is just not great. So let's see what is next on our agenda. Okay, we've asked the contenders or pretenders question once, and I want to ask it to you again, James. This time it's about the other side of this mud hole stomping from last night. Are the Pelicans true contenders in the Western Conference in your mind?
Man, you gotta put me on the spot like that.
They are. That's my job.
10-7, 6th in the West. They've won 4 of their last 5. They beat Golden State, Memphis, Houston, Chicago, lost to Boston. Why did I just try to throw an accent in? That was weird.
Lost to Boston.
I've never been. Man, dude, I think I don't want to say legit title contenders, but I think they're going to be firmly in this playoff conversation if they can stay healthy. Zion missed 3 games there right before the blowout of the Warriors. I think Ingram's good, man. Brandon Ingram is really good.
There's a reason he was on the thumbnail this week.
Yeah,
because he deserved it.
He had 34 against the Warriors. They just got dudes they got him. Zion, if he's healthy, he's really good. CJ McCollum fits in well. They've got the true center, Jonas. Like, they're good.
So
Deontay
good,
Graham
man.
had 19 off the bench. Jose Alvarado.
I was just about to say
He's
Alvarado,
wild.
like he's like a mini Joakim Noah. He's just like the most annoying defender of all time. And it's great. Like you
Yes.
love having a guy like that on your team.
You love him on your team. If he's not on your team, you
You hate him if you're Chris
despise him.
Paul.
You despise him.
Yeah. He's that dude after a layup, he's hiding behind the
Yep.
inbounder. He's like, I'm gonna get this steal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's the guy that you're mad about giving up a bucket. You throw it in, not paying attention, and he gets another one.
And it's worth noting because Dyson Daniels, he had 20 minutes in this game, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2
Yep.
assists, 2 steals. Like they're still like, I'm not certain how much we'll see, but there's a lot of potential for growth from him too throughout the course of
Yep.
the year, because we talked about this in previous episodes, but rookies that don't get a ton of playing time early on, I feel a lot better about their inability to break through that rookie wall and actually
Mhm.
have an impact. And you could see a guy like that with limited minutes, then all of a sudden you get into the playoffs, he has a couple of home games, gets into a
Mhm.
rhythm, then all of a sudden you got a guy with some skill that can all of a
Yep.
sudden, there's not a lot of tape on him. He wasn't high
Yep.
on the scouting report, and now he's making plays. You've seen it before with the likes
Just
of
19 too, man. Yep. There's
yeah.
a lot of time there. Was he he's got to be an overseas guy, right? I can't draw a blank there.
I believe is it New Zealand? Is it Australia? Well, we're gonna check it out.
I'm
But
not
yes, I believe he
sure.
was. I believe he was an Ignite guy.
Oh,
That
I bet he was an Ignite guy. That makes sense. Because he definitely doesn't have a college. I'm looking. He doesn't have anything for him for college. That makes sense. He's got. I bet he was.
yeah. So he's another guy to keep an eye out because I really think he's an overseas guy who went Ignite route. So yeah, that's another. They're so deep. You talked about Ingram. Ingram's one of the best wing scorers.
He's so good, man.
I'm hesitating to say it because I don't want to commit to it, but I think that in another year or two, I think Ingram's going to be an MVP level player. I think he's going to be a guy. It's tough because Zion's right there. I think if
Yep.
Zion weren't there, if Ingram were in a different market, or I think he could potentially be that next face of the league because he's got so many of those moves that he mirrored off of
Mhm.
Kobe's game. So he's got Kobe's maneuverability with that tall, lanky frame, and he can get those LeBron-esque behind the back. Like
Yep.
he can come from behind, get you on a block. He's just so filthy. It's so hard to defend a guy with
He's
that level
he's
of skill
shooting
set.
48% from three this year. On four, he's not shooting. He's only shooting 4.3 a game, but he's shooting 48% from downtown. That man he's 6'8". You can't block
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, he was plus 33 in this last game. Only 3 of 7 from 3, but yeah, he scored 34 points on 19 shots. Hit all his free throws.
That's
I mean,
impressive.
it's
It's
good.
it's wild. So he's 25, but he's played in the league for 7 years.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's been around forever.
That's why I feel comfortable saying where it's like, hey, he's got a couple more years, I think, before he's even at his peak.
Yeah.
That he's very well a guy that I think we're going to see a lot more of. And I am very high on this Pelicans team. Now, to answer my
Yeah.
own question, I guess, when you look at especially McCollum as well, he hasn't gotten a
Mhm.
lot of face time in this conversation, but he should.
He's good.
Yeah, and they have Herb Jones, Valanciunas that you mentioned. They do have a
Mhm.
fairly deep bench. And I think this is a team that could at least win a playoff round. So when I
Mhm.
say contenders, I will clarify. I don't see the Pelicans in the NBA Finals this year.
Not
There's
yet.
no scenario that I see that, but I see them as a legitimate playoff contender, a
Mhm.
team that could absolutely upset one of our final contenders in the first round.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised because I no longer can be surprised after Phoenix did it before I was expecting it. And who was it in Memphis? Like I will not be surprised to see the Pelicans make like a Western Conference Finals run, but whoever they would meet at that
Yeah.
point, it would be too
Even
much.
like the Hawks did a couple years ago, a
Yep,
surprise team comes out of nowhere. Yep.
yep. But that would be about my cap for them, which I think is a pretty healthy place to be. So
Mhm.
at this point, we've looked at a lot of the past matchups. So because we are so fortunate to be recording early this week,
Mhm.
thought it would be cool to look at tomorrow's matchups as well as our usual glance at the Friday matchup. So
Yep.
we don't have the usual focus visual aids. We're just going to have the whole slate that we look at. So
Yep.
James, I was going to start with Wednesday. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, let's go Wednesday. We'll go straight through the time slots. First one I like. Portland at Cleveland, 7 o'clock tomorrow night. Who do you got? Portland or Cleveland tomorrow?
At Cleveland, give me Cleveland at home,
Mm-hmm.
especially Portland nursing that injury with Dame.
Yeah, Dame's out. Yeah.
Yep. Cleveland at home is who I'm taking. What, you disagree with that one?
Nope, I think you're right. And then there's another 7 o'clock. Your boys are playing. Minnesota comes into town, plays at the Pacers. I kind of like the Pacers there. I
Yeah.
like the Pacers there. They're at home. I always like that. And it's kind of a coin flip, the home team. You always tend to lean there.
They're at home. I don't see from what we've seen with Minnesota. If you had asked me a week ago, even I still would have picked Minnesota. But as of today, I think that Pacers team is primed to win that game tomorrow. So, and the next one, I think right after that, there's a
we got some games.
Fun matchup, man. Sacramento, Atlanta. It's not going to draw your casual fan in. Let's be honest. But
there's going to be some points scored.
I have seen, I believe it was Kevin Durant himself who said that Kevin Huerter has been playing. He drew, I think it was like Klay Thompson. He drew some very good comparisons and said, folks aren't paying enough attention to what Kevin Huerter is doing in Sacramento right now. So
I had his stats up because I saw it too. He's averaged 16.6 points per game. He's shooting 49.5% from three on 7.4 attempts per game. The dude is lighting it up from downtown.
Absolutely.
They were on my team from this last week of just notes and stuff I wrote. Kings got a 6-game winning streak going. Like we seen the standings are up to 5th. De'Aaron Fox's last 2 games have been off the charts. He had 28 on 73% from the field, and then he followed it up with 33 on 61%. He's averaging 25 and 6, 55, 38, 84 splits. Like he's having a monster season.
This is one of, go ahead.
No, it's just you just don't see him. You don't talk about them, and suddenly there they are.
Exactly. And this is one of those situations when you look back at that Sabonis Halliburton trade, it's one of those, it could very well be looked at. We jump 3 years, 5 years in the future and look back and say that was a rare win-win. Like both teams got what they needed. Both guys got what they needed. And everybody's playing much better than expected.
I agree with it, man, because Halliburton didn't really fit. They were an overcrowded backcourt there. They needed somebody up front. The Pacers needed somebody to run that team, be the face of the franchise.
And we see what Miles is doing now that he's the true center. Now that they're not trying to play him at the 4.
You got him away from DeMontis not playing up next to each other. Absolutely. I think it's going to end up looking like a win-win for both of them.
It is insane.
Fox had a monster dunk. I forgot to send you the clip. Did you see it?
I missed it. Well,
I forgot to send it. He had a monster dunk.
We'll get it for next
left hand. I completely forgot about it until we just started talking about him.
That's my challenge to you, Darren. Let's get another one for next week so we can show both of them. Why not? And it doesn't stop there. I mean, 7:30 Dallas Boston. I'm going to be honest. I think we're going to talk about the next 4 games. There's a lot here.
Man, there's a lot of games there. Dallas Boston's a ton. That's a great game.
That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Tatum versus Luka. Who's your favorite? I think I went last time, so I don't want to steal your thunder.
I'm gonna for no apparent reason other than I want to. I'm gonna go with Luka tomorrow night.
Oh, that's good.
Christian Wood. He's gonna give us some more no look highlights for next week.
That makes this easy for me because I wanted you to go first because I was like, I don't want to steal the Boston take from you. I figured I'd let you be the expert. But no, okay, I like this. I will take Boston there. I like what I've seen from Dallas so far, but I really like what I'm seeing from Boston. And I'm just confident that them at home on ESPN prime time, Jason Tatum is not Kirk Cousins in the prime time.
No.
Let's see. We've got next up is Washington at Miami. Now, the story here is Miami has struggled and Washington has been better than expected. What do you think?
Wow. I kind of like Washington. It's weird to say that. It's weird to say that. Miami struggled, man. They're struggling.
They are struggling. It's tough. It's tough to figure it out.
Their defense has not been up to their standard from years past. It's not even close.
Agreed. I'm gonna go with you here. I'm gonna roll with it.
Mhm.
I think Beal's gonna play. He's been questionable a couple times. I have him on my fantasy team, so I keep a close eye on him. But yeah, I like Washington in this one. I really do, and maybe this is franchise bias, so I'm just gonna acknowledge it. It's very possible, but when I look at the Heat and how much of their roster they maintained and how much of their coaching staff and front
Mhm.
office has been this, I believe that this team will figure it out and be in
Yeah,
playoff contention. Washington's got them at the right time though tomorrow, and I think
I
they'll
agree
pull
with that.
that one
Yep.
out. Now Brooklyn maybe has Toronto at the right time. They're only 9-8. They've been dealing with some
Mhm.
injuries, but I would say Toronto's hosting Brooklyn at exactly the right
I
time.
agree. Does the misery continue? Does the misery continue for the Nets?
I
Or
think so. I'm taking Toronto here,
I
James.
think so
I
too. I can't ride with Ben Simmons just yet. Can't ride with him just yet.
Nope. And I think, well, we showed the clip last week. So another good reason to make sure you're subscribed to Stadium Rant and you go back and watch all of our
Mhm.
episodes of The Bounce. We got a nice little playlist for you so you can check out what I'm talking about and see that impressive full court, half court trap off the opening tip that Toronto
Mhm.
ran last week. It's a great defensive team. They're going to give the Nets trouble. They also, again, at certain times, start 5 players from the heights of 6'7" to 6'9". So
Mhm.
um, they're pretty good at offensive rebounding, which is a huge
Mm.
weakness for Brooklyn right now. This one might get ugly. I'm not
They
going to
could,
lie.
yeah. If you roll that lineup out there, the tree lineup, they're done. They're gonna get 27 offensive rebounds. They're gonna put them all back. It's
Oh, and it'll be
no shot.
ugly, but in all senses of the word, because yeah, they Toronto won't have to run much for an offense either. It
Yep.
won't be pretty. It's going to be some old school late 80s, Detroit Pistons offense of just
Mhm.
attack the rim, everybody crash the boards. We're not even going to get back on defense. Just we're all going for the offensive
Mhm.
rebounds.
Correct.
So, all right, I think we had another one lined up again. Chicago at Milwaukee.
Yep.
I I personally have been surprised at how not great the Bulls have been. I don't want to bury them.
Zach
They're
Levine struggled. I saw a quote. Something. It's like his legs aren't there or something. It's a really weird quote. Where did I see that at? I can't. But he's hurt. He's been hurt, and it's like his lifts not. He's struggling to finish at the rim, which is wild for somebody that is known as a high flyer. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe there is something going on with the legs. And now it is worth noting that they did beat Boston last night, 121 to
Yeah.
107. It was I'm trying to see. It was a decent night from Levine, but actually no, I take that back. 8 for 20. I did shot well from 3
Yeah.
and
He
he
had
did
the
have 22
off-season knee
points, but
surgery. I found it. I found the quote. He had an off-season knee surgery, and he talks about how his lift isn't there. It's not where it needs to be, so he's missing bunnies and stuff. And there's talk that maybe that's why his shot's not as good. I mean, he's only
Mm.
averaging 20.7 points, which is the lowest amount of points he's averaged since he got to Chicago.
Yeah, so that very well could be it. And by all accounts, from what I've seen, DeRozan has still played pretty well. He had 28 last night, still doing his thing. So if Levine can get it right, like if it
Yeah.
is just a knee thing and it's just a matter of time, I again, this team's a bit of an enigma to me because they were a little better than I thought they'd be last year early on, and
Yeah.
then they
Hmm.
kind of fell back. And so then this year I had high expectations for them and they're not meeting them. So I'm not sure what to think about Chicago anymore, to be completely
Lonzo
honest.
hasn't played all year either, too. He's got that weird knee issue.
Yes, and that's a big one. I know
Like they
last year
can't
it
figure
was
that one out.
Caruso and now it's Lonzo and
Yep.
you I don't know, you want everything to be good there.
Yep.
I hope that we see him back and in form because he had a lot of promise. He was
Hmm.
playing pretty well. So
Yeah, his injury is goofy. Is like very weird. Like they can't figure it out, which is not good. Not a good deal.
I am going to hold any comment for now in hopes that
Yeah.
it's something that will be figured out. So,
Yep.
yeah, I moving on to the next matchup here. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, is there anything else on this slate? I think the very bottom that can't really be seen here is the Clippers
Clippers,
versus
Golden State's
Golden
good,
State.
but as we've talked about with injuries, both Paul George and Kawhi are out for that game. So the luster of that game, we lose quite a bit of it there because of those guys being out.
Yeah, and hopefully the Warriors just decide to play their guys in this
I
one in
think
that
after
case.
resting them, they'll play them this time. But I mean, you never know. Who knows?
It's a lot making a lot of
No
bold
clue what they're
assumptions,
doing.
but yeah, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with Golden State for that one,
I
and
agree. Yep, roll with that.
they can that'll take us to well, before I go to our Friday slate, I missed this earlier for our opening, and I don't want to rob the people of this great
And
footage.
you're a man, Kev. You're a man of the people. You are a man of the people. It's
So
that's textbook defense. It's beautiful, straight up, cylinder, no fouls ever. Man,
if you haven't seen this, I mean, I first noticed this, I believe, in the preseason that Cormet was doing this. It's hard to see with the depth, from this angle, but he's not anywhere near Williams. He's close
um,
to the basket. He's probably close to the block. And he does this when no matter how far away, if someone shoots a jump shot, he will try everything he can to
yep.
contest it. And the reason this image is so important is because the curse appears to have been lifted for quite some
Hmm.
while. As goofy as this is, it was working. So
They
the
were missing. They were not making anything. He just cursed that the hoop right behind him, and you can never make it in. Mess with the air up there or something.
yeah, he went. He must. I think my working theory is that he got a piece of the old Boston Garden. If you remember, there were some rumors about that place being a little magical,
Yep.
and so maybe that's his secret. But either
Yep.
way, Patrick Williams found the antidote on this play. So I had to share that. But let's switch it over to our Friday slate, which
No Thursday. There's no Thanksgiving basketball. I'm sorry, Kev. You can't eat all that turkey and watch basketball, but it's gonna have to be football.
do we before we go into Friday, I do how do you feel about that? Do you wish the NBA had games on Thursday?
I think so because the NFL goes all day. They got their three, so you're not really directly. If you load up, you'd have put a few marquee matchups, almost kind of like a Christmas slate, a few marquee
Yeah.
ones late. I find that interesting. There's so many games tonight, and then it's a loaded slate Friday too. So I wish there were a couple big ones, but I understand why there's not too.
Yeah, and especially with the NFL now encroaching on the NBA's territory and announcing that they're going to start doing Christmas Day games.
Yeah. So now they're
I would
directly competing against each other.
Yeah, so now it's kind of like, okay, well, let's go ahead. If I'm the NBA, I'm going to start putting a couple games on Thanksgiving, and I'm trying to pull up week
Mhm.
12 here because I want to see what times. Okay, so we have 12:30, 4:30, and 8:30. If I'm the NBA, okay, I have a West
That's
Coast game at
yeah.
10, and B, what about okay, there's a 4:30 and an 8:30. Let's have a 6 p.m.
Right
tip
in there,
off
gap it.
because yeah, the gap here's the thing with these NFL Thursday games, they're not always very good.
Mhm.
And if I
Thursday
had the
this year has
option to
been really
switch in the
bad.
third quarter, yeah, and Thanksgiving Day is historically like, I don't know, 1 out of 3 will be good. There are a lot of
Yep,
snoozers on Thanksgiving because again, it's a
yep,
Thursday game. These are difficult. I out if outside of the profitability for the companies that host the games, like for the league, for the teams, and for the product, I think it's been very obvious just looking at the history of Thanksgiving games that Thursday night football was a bad idea. But people
yep.
will pay for it because we're starving for football. I
Mhm.
would argue that basketball at some point will get to the point where it's going to do the same thing. It's going to be worth it to have that game on
You're
Thanksgiving.
gonna
I think
have
it's worth it
yeah,
now.
especially if the NFL is gonna start dropping games on Christmas, which is typically like the highlight, almost the beginning of casual fans watching when you load that Christmas slate up and there's 4 games.
Yep.
If they're gonna start encroaching, you got to turn around and go start putting stuff on Thanksgiving too.
Yeah, exactly. I think you got to bounce back or fight back a little bit, but we will have a full slate. Those of you who get
Loaded.
to enjoy Black Friday off, you maybe while you're online shopping, unfortunately, there won't be a lot of these games on TV, which again, another missed opportunity in my opinion. While we're sitting here,
Not a single primetime television game on
not
Friday.
a one, and I just can't imagine. Now, it's hard to find a matchup, to be honest, but you could have swung. Now, Utah Golden State, absolutely, I think should be, again,
Even
West Coast game. Get it up there.
yep,
Milwaukee, Cleveland,
that's that should be on TV, man.
even in the off season, I think you would have known. Once I don't know how early the schedule gets set off the top of my head. So,
I don't either, but
but
there's
they were good enough
man.
last year for that to be like, okay, that's a marketable Friday matchup. And then once they made the trade for Donovan Mitchell, then it's a slam dunk.
Yeah, that could have been the one, and then Denver Clippers late could have been your other one. You knew those teams were good. You didn't know Utah was going to be good. So even though Utah Golden State is a lot of fun, you didn't know that going into this.
Right. And the argument there, I guess, would be that it's just the only 10 o'clock game. And so there's just virtually
Yeah.
no competition for you. So you might as well have it, is my
Yep.
theory. Like you might as well have that on. What else are you going to have on Black Friday on ESPN at 10 p.m.?
Nothing.
Why would you not have that game on? Some people, West Coast people like the hoops, man. So yeah, I think this was a missed opportunity, but their missed opportunity aside, what is the first game that you see on here that you want to talk about?
Portland, New York is
Okay,
fun
I
if
like it.
Damian's playing. If Lillard's playing, I don't think he is. It doesn't look like it. Then it's immediately 30 minutes later, Sacramento at Boston. You got the cardiac kids going in there.
That's going to be one. I'm actually going to go. This is where I'll go against Boston. I like Sacramento.
Oh, you like Sacramento? That's
to
fun.
steal that one. Yeah, I do. I think that's going to be a really fun game to watch.
That's a lot of that game is fun.
I'm going to now. Here's the thing. I'm going to pick the Nets to beat the Pacers because as soon as I expect them to win, that's when they're going to lose it. And unlike the Wednesday matchup, which is a very winnable game, this Brooklyn game, although it's winnable, it's very losable as well.
Yeah.
And if they don't bring it defensively, they could easily be outscored. So I'm going to go against my wants and pick Brooklyn to beat the Pacers. Yeah. And then is it? And correct me, am I wrong? Wait a minute? We had Wednesday. Okay, Washington, Miami. Okay, and then we have Friday, Washington at Miami. So, do you like Washington to pull a sweep? Do you think they're going to win both games in Miami?
I like a 1-1. I'll give Miami Friday.
I'll give Miami Friday as well. I think
sweep, and that's hard. That's so weird they do that. It is such a weird scheduling thing.
I mean, I'm sure there's some travel into it where it makes sense.
100%. Like,
go ahead and stay here for a week, and then you don't have to come back. But
there's nowhere direct they could have went to. I absolutely there's
right. You couldn't have played Orlando and come back. It's not that far. Not on an NBA budget, especially. It's like an hour flight or something like that.
Too long.
New Orleans, Memphis.
That's fun. That's a lot of fun.
That outside of Cleveland, Milwaukee. Now that's another one where maybe you wouldn't have known ahead of time to schedule that on prime time, but that's a marquee matchup now.
With Memphis, the injuries though, that kind of sucks. You've got Jaws out and Desmond Bane's out too, so that is an NBA TV. It's not prime time. At least it's on TV.
Hey, somebody got it. Who are you taking with that?
I'll go New Orleans. I think Memphis without those guys is just not as good. That's your two best players.
I'm going against the grain. Memphis at home because Memphis last year did it a couple times. There were a lot. I mean, remember there was a bit of a narrative going around how well they played in the games that Ja Morant was hurt.
Yeah, that's actually true. They won those games. Yeah, you're right.
They've done it before. So
just
I feel like it's a nice little trap game for the Pelicans because the Pelicans are good. They're starting to feel it. However, this is a home game for Memphis. It's going to feel like prime time for them because it's a Friday night, 8 p.m. Few arenas get as energized as Memphis. And on a Friday night holiday, like I think that place is going to be rocking. And who likes to be the underdog better than the Memphis Grizzlies? Like I think this is a perfect storm for them to win this one game. If they played it on a Tuesday, maybe not, but I think the time is right here for Memphis to steal one, even though the Pelicans are in a better place right now. Cleveland, Milwaukee. That's the next one. I think I'll go first on this one and say that Cleveland will not be able to do it. Milwaukee's just too strong. What do you think, James?
I like Milwaukee at home. Same thing, Friday night game. I like Milwaukee at home. I think you're right. Cleveland's really good. They're not there yet. Just not there yet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun and a very competitive game. I think part of what Cleveland will do well, they have a lot of bodies up front that play pretty good defense. So I think they'll be able to keep. They should be able to keep Giannis slowed down up until about halftime, and once they get into the locker room and have a chance to counter whatever it is Cleveland's been doing. So these teams are very familiar with each other, right? Like it's not like they don't see each other 4 times a year. Like it's going to be an adjustment, and that's where I think the Bucks they're well seasoned. They're more veterans. They're the team that win those kind of games. And what else you got? Anything else on that final slate you want to look at? I'm assuming we should talk Utah Golden State, huh?
Utah Golden State is going to be a lot of fun. As long as Golden State doesn't rest half their team, which we don't know. You never know.
As long as everybody plays. Yeah, I don't know. They'd be like, well, guys, Draymond played 2 nights ago, so we're going to have to rest him.
Gotta rest him.
No, I think this do you have a pick for this? Yeah.
I'm going Golden State's good at home. It's where the only place they win is at home. However, they did get a road win. Finally.
They did get a road win. And there must be balance. I don't want to quote Thanos, but no, in the sake of balance, because they won that road game, I think the Warriors are going to lose this one at home.
Okay.
They need to get things right. But Utah, this is Utah's chance to say, hey.
Yep, put their stamp down.
We're here, man. This is us. So, and I think they'll do it because they're just going to keep us. They want to keep. They've got us all on the hook now. They're going to keep.
They know if they keep playing, they're going to have a segment on here every week, and they are not trying to lose that. It's a lot of coverage.
Exactly. Well, that wraps up the Friday night preview, and that about wraps it up here for us at the Bounce. James, do you have any final thoughts? Any topics? Any cool stats? Anything that I missed? Didn't get to you this week?
I don't think so. I'm rolling through here real quick. We hit pretty much everything. The Lakers do have a 3-game winning streak. That's odd. So just throwing that out there.
You know what? That can be a good ending. I think at one point I had typed it into our agenda that we would have our obligatory Lakers segment.
Yep.
But
shout out Anthony Davis, 3 straight 30-point games with 16+ rebounds. Good for him. And Russ over there, 4 straight games with 10+ assists. They're playing without LeBron right now. I guess he's the problem.
You sent me a tweet in between this. It might have been before last week's episode, saying that at one point, Russ Westbrook was the highest, the best 3-point shooting percentage on the Lakers.
Team. I don't think he does anymore. I'll double check. I'm gonna pull it up. I don't think he is. It was like a week and a half ago when they were struggling. I sent it to you and I was like, just heads up. I'm pulling it. I don't think he is anymore. I think he's moved on there. Let's go 3-point percentage. I don't count him. He's barely played. Austin Reeves is the best one on the team. Yeah. Russ is down. He's in 5th or 6th.
He's regressed back.
He's still 33.3%. I'll give him some credit.
Hey, not too bad for him. And I also, it's worth noting because we talked about this way back in our very first episode. I have an article that I have to edit later. It's about how great of an addition Lonnie Walker IV has been.
Yep.
And if my eyes do not fail me, I believe he is currently 3rd on the team in scoring. Yep. So I was saying a 3rd option he was not, or a 4th option he was not. He's adapting to it a little bit. He's adapting to it. Now I will say we're talking 16 points a game here, guys, before you throw tomatoes at me. We're not. He's not James Harden off the bench yet, but he is playing well, and and it could mean good things for this team. So 3 wins. That's a good sign. I mean,
start right. You got to start somewhere.
I have such a hard time not seeing this team at least in the play-in, just because it's the Lakers and LeBron, and Anthony Davis and LeBron.
Davis, you think they find a way, right?
It's gonna take a lot more losses for me to be willing to write them off, because I know the narrative, and it's all about when you lose games. Sometimes it's more, not maybe not all about, but sometimes it's not how many, but when. And I know it's very unlikely you don't see teams that have bad starts, but there's some, and maybe this is the baseball fan in me, where there's just, at the end of the day, it's just a month or it's just 2 months. Like,
Yeah.
you're playing all 82 of them. So so you could argue, like, yeah, if you have a bad stretch of 15, but that's your only bad stretch of 15, you're still a playoff team. So it goes counter to like our logic to think that a team could start so badly and still end up okay. And it is very rare for it to happen, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I mean, we're at this point, we've seen teams come back, from all kind 3-1 deficits that had never been done before. Other sports, we've seen 3-0 deficits. Like, it's sports, man. That's why it's great. Might only be a 1% chance, but doesn't mean it won't happen. So I can't rule the Lakers out yet. I'm not willing to do it. Although I think Rob Pelinka's got to make some moves. Otherwise,
the
they're going to fire him for re-signing himself.
Yeah, the roster's so limited. You're absolutely right. They got to figure something out. Dennis Schroeder did just make his season debut last Friday, so it'll be interesting to see if he can have any impact. Who knows there?
Yeah, that would be worth watching. We'll keep an eye on that. I wonder if he's out there on the clock right now. Okay, I'm getting looks like I got to stop playing around with the internet. Well, that's a good sign for us to sign off, because I don't want us to have any connection issues. So we will be back next Thursday at our regular.
Finally, we'll be back at a regular time. Finally.
Yeah, just in time for a couple weeks, and then we'll probably have Christmas get in the way. Who knows? But yes,
Christmas,
we'll be back.
Possibly, yeah.
So before I sign us off, James, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find us here every Thursday. Do we go live? I don't even remember what time we go live anymore, because we've been moving around. Is it 9:00?
9:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, we've moved it so much recently. And then you can catch me also the Titans Tilt podcast, as Tennessee makes their run towards inevitably breaking my heart like they always do in the playoffs. So
Yep. You can find me talking about the just greatest team in the NFL, the Indianapolis Colts, twice a week on the Indy Intercept podcast, powered by Stadium Rant. You can also find me on my own podcast, the Bite Size Sports Show. You can check me out there Wednesday late night for the Wild World of Sports. We have a lot of fun, make a lot of jokes, and you can read my work at Indy Intercept or at The Last Word on Sports. Just look for that name right there. That's me. That's how you find it. So anyway, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you liked it. Give it a big fat thumbs down if you think I'm a dummy. And comment below, and we will get to your question next time. Thanks again, guys.